Hey, what's going on, guys? So I wanted to do another quick video. Origin came out with some new boots a while back. They redesigned their boots and came out with a Goodyear welted version and a mock toe as well. And so I picked these up basically as soon as they came out. I want to say it was around November or so of last year, 2024. And I've been wearing them since. Um, and I just want to give you guys my thoughts on the new updated boot over the older versions back there. So this is called the Wilton, and then I think those are both called Coronados. So basically, Too Long Didn't Watch it is a better boot overall than the old versions. I think I can actually give my seal of approval if you're looking for a light duty work boot that's not heavy. You don't necessarily need a lot of protection, and you want that kind of tennis shoe feeling, but with still more protection than a tennis shoe. So there is a lot of differences that we'll get into on this boot. Some pros and some cons that they've changed from the old one. It is overall a better boot. It is more comfortable. So yeah, we'll get into it. So obviously they have switched to a Goodyear welt construction. I don't know if they're still making those. They still have them on their site. I don't know if they're phasing them out, which I honestly I feel like they should. Overall, just get rid of the hybrid stitch down thing and just go Goodyear welt with all their boots in the future. But you got a Goodyear welt, so that's nice. They've removed the leather midsole, which to me is fine. I know they're having a lot of issues with the sole coming unglued from the midsole, so that would solve that, going to a rubber. And that also made this boot 100% made in America, which is cool. I think it's the first official boot, every single part of it's made in America. So that's cool. I believe they've updated the last, because there are some differences. It just feels better on my feet. It's kind of hard to describe, but like there's a little bit more room through the heel in the midsection than there was on the older boots, and it just feels better. Not having that stitching through the footbed might have made a difference as well. I'm not sure with the Blake stitch that they ran through. They're still using a foam footbed along with a foam removable insole, the same one they've always been rocking. Again, not a bad insole, there's just not any support in them. So again, with this boot, it doesn't really have much built-in support or anything. Like if you're used to high arches and stuff like that, this is probably not going to be the boot for you. But one thing I know I mentioned in my last video, excuse me, is that the Power Step Pinnacle insole that I really like didn't really fit well in either of those boots, just because of how thin it was on the heel. But they do fit much better in these boots, and it does seem like they've widened the heel, like I said, a bit compared to the old one, if you can see there. And that's where I think some of the differences in the last changes that they may have made. The other big change to this is they've gone to a fabric lining, like foam backed lining on the through the entirety of the boot. So that does make it way more comfortable than the old ones in terms of just lacing it up and just feeling it kind of hugging your feet with that foam backed lining. But that also decreases the amount of kind of stiffness and rigidity through the main body of the boot, because like this whole thing like smushes down now if you want it to. Like if you drop something on your foot, you're gonna feel it. Or you kick something, like it's just very, very soft. Versus these two boots, both of them, they have some stiffness in them, and that is because they are partially leather lined, so you can actually see the stitching through some of the lining here, which this boot does not have. And that's because you have this black layer of leather lining that is through the vamp and the toe of the boot. It's kind of hard to see without a light, but you have leather lining through there, and through the toe as well. So that kind of gives an extra layer of stability and rigidity and a little bit extra protection, having the two layers of leather, versus this does not. So you are losing some of that protection It is a little bit lighter of a boot. It is very even more tennis shoe feeling than those boots, which I mentioned in the previous videos. They've also added a bit of a collar here, a little bit of a padded collar, so that adds some comfortability. Um, it is, like I said, I think an upgrade, and if you're fine with a light duty boot, now they do have steel toe versions of these available as well, but I'd still say that's very light duty compared to like a pair of whites or anything or something like that. So that is kind of a con for me. I wish they would have kept the leather lining. And the other thing I think they need to work on still is these tongues. You can see how off, sideways they are. And that was the same thing kind of with these older boots as well. I think they need to make the tongues bigger and center them. I don't like this. And what happens is I'll actually get a slight gap even with it fully laced up. And sometimes the laces will ride right on my shin or my ankle instead of being on the tongue, because the tongue just wants to go off to the side. And then also you'll see here the stitching has ripped. Now this is just decorative stitching on this one because there's no second layer of leather in here, but the speed hooks have cut that stitching. So just food for thought. I would update these tongues and make them a little bit wider, but overall it is definitely a better boot. I believe they've also changed where the eyelets are. I think they're a little bit further back, which does make it not cinched down quite as tight on your foot as the older boots, but it still feels fine. The sizing is still very close to tennis shoe sizing as well, and still have the Red X soles on here. I do like these soles for smooth concrete, and in my shop they work pretty well. But yeah, they're super lightweight, super comfortable, and honestly I've really not had any foot pains out of them since I can run my power step insoles in them. So definitely headed towards the right direction. I would still like to see them come out with a full-on kind of heavy duty style boot with a leather insole. Still have their foam removable insole in there, but a leather insole with a little bit more arch maybe, and leather lining, and maybe just a little bit thicker or less soft leather, because this leather is really, really soft. It reminds me a lot of Thorogood leather in terms of how supple it is. But yeah, if they could just, I mean, I know it would cost more, and I would totally pay more for a boot like that from them, but they are heading in the right direction, I would say. So these and the new mock toes are built the same, and I hope to see more boots come out on their Goodyear Welt construction. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to give you guys an update. Much better boots than the previous versions. So as you can see, I've worn the piss out of them. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out.